All right, guys. So we're going to start the next day. This is day 5 on hyperbolas. Today, what we're going to do is the first time we're going to look at are the focus points or the foci, since there's more than one. We're going to do the same thing that we did when we found the vertices. We're going to name them from left to right or top to bottom. But this is going to be a little bit more difficult because it's not an actual point on the graph. It's a point around the graph that the parabolas you can kind of see are all get curved around. So we'll plot them as points and they will look close, but there's no way you can just put them on Desmos and graph them. So let's jump into this. Let me actually make sure I'm sharing the screen correctly. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna use the same thing that we did before. We just have to have this new point here. Okay, so we got x squared over 81 minus y squared over 4. So we know this is going to be a horizontal graph because it starts out with x squared, and we're going to go back to our notes. So let's start out with this. We got a horizontal graph. Our foci points are going to be h plus or minus c, comma k. Let's take care of the easy part first, the k, which isn't going to change on either one of the points, and it's the number being subtracted from the y. So I'm going to go back here. If we look at our y, there's no number being subtracted from the y, so our k number is 0. So both of these are going to be at something 0, something 0. Okay, now the foci point, which we have the formula is h plus or minus c. Well, h is the number next to the x, but c is technically not on this equation. C, we actually have to go back up here and look to find out that in a hyperbola, not an ellipse or a circle, but in a hyperbola, the c value is equal to, or c squared equals a squared plus b squared. So what we have to do here is a squared and b squared are bottom numbers. We're going to have to add them together and then take the square root of them. And so let's go ahead and look at that. Okay. So if we look here, this is a squared, that's b squared. So I can add them together and then take the square root of them. So I'm just going to pull up a calculator here. Hopefully you guys have the same one. If you just do a little search in the bottom left corner and look up TI, you should have this exact calculator. Okay, 81 plus 4, I should know that, that's 85. So this is what c squared equals. So c is the square root. Well, that's not a square root, but the square root of 85. Okay, so there's our C number. What we have to do here is we have to take our H number, which is 0, and add or subtract that. So what I like to do in the calculator, make it do all the tough work, do 0 minus the square root of 85, which is going to be negative 9.2195. Negative 9.2195, and then do the exact same thing, but plus, so 0 plus the square root of 85, 9.2195. Okay, so I just want to take a second here to kind of go back over how we got those answers and what they mean on a graph. So our zeros at the end, remember, are our k number, or this number here at the end that isn't really affected. It's 0 because there's nothing being to the y. What we had to do next to get these other numbers was to take our h, which is 0 in this case here, and add or subtract the c number. And to get the c number, it's the square root of the bottom two numbers added together. So if I add these bottom two numbers together, that's 85. So it's going to be 0 from the top minus the square root of 85. There's our first number. And then 0 plus the square root of 85. That's the bottom number. So if I go on Desmos here and type this out, x squared divided by 81 minus y squared divided by 4 equals 1. I'll zoom out a little bit here so you can see. All right, we have these two parabola sideways ones. Now, if I just type in those points, I think it was like negative 9.2195, comma 0. And then same thing, positive 9.2195. you can see these are the foci points. So we talked about these back when we did parabola, but that's where they're located. So there's going to be no way that you can actually click on them. Like if we type in the graph, we can't click on them to find them, but we can type them in to see if they are close. So we're going to just trust our math from now on, but we can always go back to the graph and trust to see if we're doing this right. Okay. So let's start this out on this next one. This next one's actually very similar if we look at this. Both of them, oh, we got somebody else. Sean's joining us here. All right, Sean, we are just getting started on the second problem right now. So the first numbers are up here. Here's how we do the second one. So if we look back and forth between the two, we can see that they're very similar. Both of them start out with x squared. Both of them start out with y squared. And we're going to find our k number. Well, our k number is going to be 0, just like how it was 0. And that goes back to our formula chart. You can see our foci is at h plus or minus c, and then comma k. K is the number next to the y. There is no number next to the y. We got another one. Oh, Sean's joining again. I'll probably doubling down. So that's how we get 0 here. Now what we need to do is to take our h, which is 0, and add or subtract the square root of these two numbers added together. So I'm just gonna, in my calculator, add those numbers together. 121, come on, 121 plus 81, probably just do that in my head, is 202. All right, so we're gonna take our h number, ooh, didn't mean to make it, which is 0, and subtract the square root of 202, so 0 minus the square root of 202. We get negative 14.2127 when we round. Negative 14.2127. And then we'll do the same thing, but we'll do plus, which you'll see it doesn't really change much, just makes our answer positive. 0 plus the square root of 202, enter 14.2127. All right, 2 more to go. Okay, so this next problem here, if we look between how it compares the last 2 problems, the only thing different if we look here is that it starts out with y equals, or the y. So that means our formula is going to be a little bit different. We're going to have h, which is the number next to the x, start out, and then we're going to have the different numbers at the end. So our number next to the x, h is 0, so we're going to have zeros in front of here, 0, 0 for both of these. But now we got to figure out this number here. And so that other number that changes is the, in this case, k number, which is 0, because there's nothing special there, plus or minus the square root of these two numbers added together. So let's add those numbers together. We got 25 plus 16, that's 41. So the first thing we're going to do is to take the number next to it, which is 0, and subtract the square root of 41. We get negative 6.4031. Negative 6.4031, and then we'll add it, which you guys can probably already assume it's going to be a positive. Square root of 41, 6.4031. Okay, all right, so hopefully we're kind of seeing the pattern here. We look to see, all right, h or k, which one are we using, and then what happens. All right, so here's where it gets a little bit difficult. Here's where we have numbers up at the top, and we're just going to go through it. This will be what we do all day tomorrow. There'll be 4 problems just like this tomorrow. Be very similar. So let's look at this one first. We have an x in front. So x in front means it's horizontal. And so that means the k number at the end is the one that's not going to change. And that's the number being subtracted from the y. So let's just take care of that first. The number being subtracted from the y is technically a negative 8. So we'll put a negative 8 at the end of both of these. Now, This other number is going to be our h, which is the number subtracted from x, which in this case is -2, and then plus or minus the square root of the number, these numbers added together. So we're going to take -2, and then we're going to subtract. If I add these together, that's 173. So -2 minus the square root of 173. All right, -2 minus the square root of 173. We'll press enter. We get -15.1529. -15.1529. And then we'll do the exact same thing, but we're going to have -2. Oh, didn't mean to press enter here. Oh, we're going to have -2 plus the square root of 173. It's 173, right? Yeah. All right, now you can see this one comes out to be a little bit different because we didn't have 0 there. So we got 11.1529. 1529. Okay, so that's the trick. That's how we go through this. It's good to watch these videos over again because when we take our quiz, you'll see you'll have a problem like this. Tomorrow is going to be very similar to this. So let's actually submit the quiz to see if I made any mistakes grading. Nope, 4 out of 4. Here we go. Let's do it. And so if we want to go ahead and take a look at tomorrow's quiz, preview it. You can see tomorrow is the exact same type of questions. Most of them are the one, like the last one we just did. So if you got the hang of this, you think you got it, just want to go ahead and get through it, have an easier day tomorrow. I always recommend doing that. Do have the entire year already, the rest of the year planned out for you. So you can go ahead and do that. We got 1, 2, 3 more lessons in this section than the quiz. And then we have 2 projects. Guys, I try to make the easiest things for you guys to end the year on. They should be really nice, kind of fun to do. I'm excited to see what you guys come up with. And then a exam, which is multiple choice that you guys get. Oh, you guys are supposed to have multiple attempts on that. So I will change that. Yeah, let's allow multiple attempts. We don't want to show the students correct answers. There we go. All right, let me check the chat, see if there's any questions. I didn't see anything pop up. No? All right, well, I will end this lesson here. You guys have a great day. You guys stay safe. We are almost done with the whole month of April. You guys are doing great. Take care, stay safe.